I didn't have as many offers as I thought I should out of high school. I was very under recruited. I was a dual sport athlete. I played football and baseball, and probably up until a week before I committed for baseball, I was still kind of leaning towards football. I kind of wanted to play football in college. I didn't really have a set plan on what I wanted to do, and so in turn, I didn't really put myself out there to go to any baseball camps or go to any showcases, stuff like that. Kind of played for just a hometown summer team, and just really enjoyed playing the game. And finally, when I made that decision, I didn't have myself out there enough to where the only option I really had was junior college. And I mean, it was such a blessing in disguise. Ultimately, going there, I didn't really know what was going to come at the end of it. I just knew that, hey, it's 2 more years of baseball, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, definitely just not having a whole lot of offers out of high school.
How was the first year there, and kind of what made you decide to come back for a second season after your first JUCO year?
Yeah, I'd say just my entire freshman year in junior college was just a whole learning curve. The game sped up, the pitching got faster, the hitting got better. Everything just took a jump. And so I was doing my best to try to adapt as quickly as I could. But baseball will beat you down more times than it'll love you. And so the biggest thing for me was just having a year to learn, and thankfully, my head coach, Brent Biggs out there, he believed in me, and he knew what I could do and what I was capable of, and so he kind of just threw me right in the fire and just let me go do what I wanted pretty much, and kind of learn the hard way on a lot of things. And so definitely the freshman year was just kind of the huge learning curve, and I mean it's the same way with a lot of other kids. I saw it myself when I was a sophomore there as well, and seeing the freshmen come in and they kind of have their welcome to college baseball moments. But yeah, definitely needed to go back for another year. I wanted to go back for another year. Uh, I knew what I was capable of and what I was able to do. And so that kind of fueled me a lot in, that off season and that summer, just uh, continue to train and continue to get better at what I want to do. And that was the biggest thing for me, was just being able to spend each and every day playing baseball and doing baseball workouts to, get my body prepared for the season and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely wanted to go back for that second year. And I think just to answer that question, the biggest thing was just a huge learning curve from that freshman year.
And what was your highlight, you'd say, about JUCO?
Um, there was a lot. Um, I would probably have to say that I'll give you two highlights. The first highlight was my freshman year. We won the West Conference, back-to-back champions. That was a huge accomplishment for our junior college, and kind of just being able to experience that as a freshman. And then my sophomore year, we didn't win the West, but we went on an incredible run at the end of the tournament, and we were the only upset to make it to the regional. And so being able to go through that month of time with all my teammates and coaches, that was just an incredible experience. And looking back on it, it was some of the best days that I've had playing baseball, was just in that month span, just being able to show up every day with a smile on your face and just enjoy what you do.
And then Nebraska, do you feel very prepared coming from the JUCO to Nebraska?
Yeah. Is very blessed opportunity that I was able to have, being able to go to a school like Nebraska, very prestigious in all their sports, incredible fan base that they have. And coming out of junior college, I felt ready. Hey, like I'm ready to attack this competition, the higher levels of baseball. But I feel like with any level of baseball, you're gonna have that welcome to college baseball moment. And the fall was pretty rough for me at Nebraska. Just was constantly getting, new stuff thrown at you every single day. And it was I relate a lot last year to my freshman year in college. It was kind of like you're new to the whole system. You're new to the Division I level of baseball. But I mean, at the end of the day, I knew who I still was. And, I leaned on a lot of people that I had back in junior college, my family and friends. I leaned on a lot of them. And they, bless them, they kept giving continued support, and confidence no matter what. And that was the biggest thing for me, was knowing what kind of support I had behind me, and knowing that, if things don't quite work out on the field, I'm still going to have that great support system to come back home to, and, surround myself with the right group of people. And that was the biggest thing for me, being at the University of Nebraska, was just having that support behind me.
What was your highlight, you'd say, of being a Cornhusker?
Definitely, the Big Ten tournament when I walked it off against Michigan State. That was an awesome moment. It was funny. I've never walked off a baseball game in my entire career, and I had two last year, so that was a big highlight for me.
How'd you make your decision to enter the portal after the 1 year at Nebraska?
Yeah, it was pretty simple for me. We kind of had our exit meetings at the end of the year, and I just didn't really like how the way mine went, and after a lot of talk with my family and friends, and kind of the other opportunities that were out there, we thought it was best for me to enter the transfer portal, and it was honestly a pretty quick conversation, and I honestly want to say I was only in the portal for maybe 30 minutes to an hour.
I'm guessing when you put your name in the portal, you had made a decision previously that if K-State had reached out, you were going to go play there.
I was actually packing up my apartment. It was my last day in Lincoln, and uh, kind of the day, 2 days after the exit meeting or whatever, and was kind of packing my place up, not really knowing. And that was when I made my post on Twitter, just saying like, "Hey, I'm entering the transfer portal." And as I was packing up my room, I heard my phone go off, and I was like, "I wonder who that would be," and turned it over, and saw it was Coach Waits here, and immediately was like, "Oh, well, there we go," and called and had probably a 10-15 minute conversation, and after that knew that, I was gonna be a Wildcat, so.
What did he tell you that made it so?
Well, at first, he just asked kinda, what happened, how the season went, and just kinda why I was entering the portal and all that stuff, and we just kinda talked through that, and, he just said he still believed in me as a ball player and believed in, who I was and how I played the game. And they wanted me here at K-State, and, we'd work on a lot of things. And so, yeah, just immediately got through that conversation and was very excited for the next chapter.
What do you think your hardest moment of your like JUCO slash college experience has been so far?
Yeah, definitely the biggest thing for me is just learning how to deal with failure. And, I'm still guilty of that sometimes. Is Sometimes I just don't know how to fail. Just the competitive person I am, it's whether I'm playing checkers or playing Connect Four, like I want to win in anything I do. I don't care who I'm going against. My girlfriend gets mad at me all the time because I beat her in almost anything, and I don't let her win or do anything like that. That's the person I am. And but the biggest thing for me was just learning how to deal with failure and how to go about your business. While you're not feeling well, you're not always going to feel 100% at the plate. Your swing's not going to be there every single day, but learning how to work around that and create a routine for yourself to be able to go out there every single day and know, like, hey, like I can still compete at the highest level even though I don't have my A swing today or any of that stuff. But the biggest thing that I had to learn through these last 3 years was just learning how to deal with failure. And just a lot of that goes back to just relying on that support system that I built through my 3 years of college, and just talking with them and knowing like everything outside of baseball is going to be all right. And I think that's another big thing for me is once baseball is done for the day, I try to leave it at the field. I am also very guilty of bringing it home a lot and being in grumpy moods all the time, but I've gotten a lot better at just when baseball's over, it's like a switch. You just turn it off. It's okay. We're done with that. Let's go home. Let's think about other things that we can do than just worrying about baseball 24/7.
On the other side, what do you think the most fun you've had in college so far? We've alluded to a few of them, but was it off the field or was it one of those great in-game moments we've already talked about?
Yeah, I would say like the most fun I've had was honestly in junior college. Being able to be in that type of atmosphere. I mean, we were in Great Bend, Kansas, and it's a small town. The only thing there is the small town of Great Bend and the junior college. That's about maybe 5 minutes outside of town. I don't really look back at on the field moments. Those are always great to think about, but the highlight that I really think about is just being able to spend every single day in junior college with my teammates, and we spent hours with each other, and it grew to be more of a family than it did just being a teammate. And through both years there, I've made countless amount of friendships, and friendships that I'll carry for the rest of my life. I still keep in contact with a lot of those guys today, and some of them are continuing to play baseball, and some of them are working a job. They're done with sports, and I still just think about the memories that we created through those 2 years of being on the same team, and competing every single day with each other. But that's definitely been the highlight of my college career so far.
Is it feeling good to be back in Kansas? Was that a big part of wanting to come to K-State?
Yeah, I've grown up since I was a kid. I live in Topeka, and so that's 50 minutes to an hour from here. But that was the biggest thing for me is I've always grown up a K State fan, and you always look at those rivalries between KU and K State and all that stuff. My girlfriend actually she goes to KU, so she's we kind of have a rival in the household. That's pretty fun to play around with, but yeah, just being able to grow up a K-State fan and, being able to come here and come back home, I kind of truly feel like I am at home. And, I know a lot of people from here and a lot of people obviously back home. And it's going to be a lot easier for those people to come up and watch me play. It's only an hour drive compared to when I was in Nebraska. It was a 4-hour drive. So not a lot of family members or friends could always make that trip up to come watch me play. But I think that was the biggest thing is, I finally just feel like I'm at home and I'm comfortable here and I like being able to call this place home. But yeah, that's the biggest thing.
For the K-State baseball team, what do you think the ceiling for the team is this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it since day one of being here. We want to go to Omaha and we want to make that run. We were close a couple years ago, and our coaches really believe in us and believe in the type of talent that we have on this roster. And I believe the same thing. Our pitching, can be as good as they want to be, and hitting's the same way. I would say this personally is, this is the most talented team I've kind of ever been a part of, and that's, coming from a 51-10 junior college baseball team, and being at Nebraska last year, seeing a whole lot of different teams, and being in high school and summer ball teams, stuff like that. This is definitely the most talented team I've been a part of, and but yeah, I'd say the ultimate goal for this year is, we want to make it to Omaha, and each day they just try to instill it in us that like, hey, we can be an Omaha team, and we're gonna go about our business that way, and we're gonna act that way. It's not a charity case that we show up in a regional or a super regional. We're gonna act like we're supposed to be there, and treat our business as such. So
What do you think the number one way your game has improved since coming to K-State?
yeah, I definitely say my power has increased through the roof. I hit more home runs in the fall than I think I've hit in my entire life. Honestly, I hit 8 through 2 years in junior college, but they were kind of balls that kind of barely squeaked out, or the wind helped them a lot. But being able to come here and hit with Coach Waits, and kind of have him look at your swing and make little slight changes and slight details that you're missing on. Really thinking about that. That was the biggest thing for me. Was I've always had that power, but I've just never really, been able to tap into it. And that was the biggest thing this fall was being able to keep the player who I am, but also being able to tap into the power aspect and being able to drive balls with authority, stuff like that. But that's definitely the biggest part of my game that's kind of taken off since being here.
When you leave K-State, what do you want your legacy to be as a Wildcat?
Yeah, I just want to be known as kind of, a close hometown kid that, just, anytime he stepped between the white lines, he gave it everything he had, and really competed for his teammates and his coaches and the community. There's a whole lot more tradition that, K-State has done than, I can do in just a year of being here. But the biggest thing, I want people to look back on is like, wow, that kid really competed, that kid really did his job and, cared for his teammates, cared for his coaches, cared for, the fans that were there. And that's the biggest thing for me is, I think I can make a bigger impact outside of baseball than I can, making an impact on the field.